But either way, so there's some actual medical people doing actual medical things, as in studying the effects of the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine, quote unquote. It's actually not a vaccine, but that's what they called it because they changed the definition of vaccine so that they could do what they did. And, we get into politics pretty often on this show. And, we are pretty right leaning, we're kind of libertarian sometimes, Heffy more so than others. I know you're fairly well libertarian. I don't hold that against you because you're a small L libertarian, not big L.
Yeah.
If you were a big L, we'd have a problem.
No.
Those people are mostly insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, they let in everybody. Small L's are more aligned with the right than the
more right aligned.
Yeah, centrist at best. Down the middle. But the point is, this goes against both sides because this is just medical fact that they've come up with after studying these things. So this I will link in the description down below so you don't see that I'm just an asshole. And by the way, this came out December 10th, 2025. I don't remember hearing anything about this.
Not 2025.
So Stanford Medicine study shows why mRNA COVID-19 vaccines can cause myocarditis. So you remember all those stories of young black athletes just keeling over and dying in the middle of a football game or in a track meet or things like that? And mind you, for medical reasons, not because of gang violence. That's a wholly different reason. That was with COVID, not of. Sorry, bad 2020 jokes. More people died with COVID than of COVID, by the way. That's why we'll never get those actual numbers as you cough. Hantavirus. Either way. So this is by Bruce Goldman. COVID-19 and less frequently the mRNA-based COVID-19 vaccine can cause inflamed heart tissue in some people. So they did know that. They knew for a fact that COVID itself can actually cause myocarditis. Obviously a thing. New study implicates a pair of substances secreted by immune cells and proposes a strategy to mitigate the vaccine effect. So, mind you, what they basically have said is that because of the vaccine, it causes these things to happen from your cells. That actually causes this. So, I'm going to read as quick as I can, guys. You can read it for yourself as well. I might, dumb this down a little bit for the best of us. But there's other things I want to get to as well, because there's another scientist who was run out of town and called a kook and all these horrible things when he said, hey, we shouldn't be using this vaccine this way. That's not what it was meant to be used for. And he came out with the reasons almost specifically for this. If this article doesn't cover it, I will talk about that. So Stanford Medicine investigators have unearthed the biological process by which the mRNA-based vaccines for COVID-19 can cause damage in some young men and adolescents, and they've shown a possible route for reducing its likelihood. I like the back half of that sentence because they're like, oh, hey, we can possibly fix this. I bet it's nanomachines. I hope it's nanomachines. That'd be fun. Like how we cyborgs.
Let's do it.
Do it. Just do it. Using advanced but now common lab techniques. That was a useless sentence, thanks. Along with published data from vaccinated individuals, the researchers identified two-step sequence in which these vaccines activate a certain type of immune cell, in turn riling up another type of immune cell. The resulting inflammatory activity directly injures heart muscle cells while triggering further inflammatory damage. Actually, this seems like it's covering what Brett Weinstein said. Basically, if the vaccine... so for those who don't know, the way this was meant to work is that it was effectively encapsulated in fat cells, and that was what was injected into your arm, and it was meant to stay in your arm and basically disseminate through the muscle tissue to create an immune response and help build an immunity and train your system to specifically target the spike proteins for when the virus attached itself to your cell to start reproducing. That's what it was supposed to do. If it stayed in your muscular cells, that's what it would have done. However, because bodies tend to break stuff down, a lot of these things would get into the bloodstream and travel through your body. And I'll cover some of that later. But this is kind of what would happen if it gets to your heart specifically, which is already hard to do. But your heart in and of itself has a lot of immune protections. But once it gets there, you're kind of fucked. So let's see here. The mRNA vaccines for COVID-19, which have now been administered to several billion times, have been heavily scrutinized for safety and have been shown to be extremely safe, said Joseph Wu. Extremely safe until you read the rest of this. Director of Stanford Cardiovascular Institute. mRNA vaccine has done tremendous job mitigating COVID pandemic. I don't honestly know if there's proof that it did. Without the vaccine, people would maybe more gotten sick, maybe been severe effects, more people would have died. Also, I think that's an opinion.
Yeah.
To be fair, because most people who got the fever or I read the word fever, got the virus, mostly fought it off with their own immune system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not saying that's the only way out, but that seemed to be the way early on. Like, I mean, I lost family members to it, so I understand. But also, he got on a ventilator early, so that most of that time that was a death sentence, sadly, before we figured that part out.
Right.
But skipping over the opinion part of that, the vaccines are viewed as a breakthrough because they can produce quickly enough to keep up with sudden microbial strain changes and be rapidly adapted to widely fight the different evolutions of it, basically. But also in the same fact that most people were getting treatment with monoclonal antibodies, which was significantly faster in treating the virus. Like, in some cases, 2 to 3 day turnaround with different types of infusions and then monoclonal antibodies. You could have a 3 day turnaround with no sickness instead of just doing this. Okay, but one rare but real risk of the mRNA based COVID-19 vaccines is myocarditis, or inflammation of the heart tissue. Obviously bad. You don't want that to happen. Symptoms: chest pain, shortness of breath, fever, palpitations, and that appears in basically, and that's without the viral infection.
Right.
The funny part is that would happen with the viral infection too, which is also what he points out in a minute, is that in and of itself, COVID could do that if it gets that far in. They appear okay, and they happen quickly within 1 to 3 days after the shot. That is one thing that I do remember, is that some people got the shot and they were like down in a day, and some people months later. Just depending. Most of those affected have high blood levels of a substance called cardiac troponin. Okay, yeah, I've heard of troponin before. Well-established clinical indicator of heart muscle injury. Cardiac troponin is normally found exclusively in the heart muscle. Sorry, that was right under excessively. When found and circulating in blood, it indicates damage to the heart muscle cells. So this is the very important numbers I want everybody to remember, because this gets a little scary. When he says rare, we'll see how rare that is. Vaccine-associated myocarditis occurs in 1 in every 140,000 vaccines after a first dose and rises to 1 in 32,000 after a second dose. How many people got 8, 10 every fucking dose, right?
Right.
Jessica got 2, and she's felt weird after the fact. Mind you, they're studying a lot more of young men because that's where we're seeing a lot of this. Obviously, most more athletic tend to be more active, all that kind of stuff. So that's why it probably hit young men more. We'll get to that later. Here's a very, very important sentence. For reasons that aren't clear, incidence peaks among young male vaccinees. Never seen that word before. Age 30 or lower are at 1 in 16,750.
16,000.
1 in 16,000. There's 200,000 people in this county.
This county.
Right. Yeah. That's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people in that basically get this myocarditis specifically from the vaccine.
Right.
And this is young males below the age of 30. And they were pushing this shit on teenagers and younger.
Oh, yeah.
Which there was no evidence COVID would have any effect on children. In fact, young children, it seemed that it couldn't even bind to their cells because they had certain protective cells. But they were getting kids, even babies, the vaccine for some reason. But the scary part was, for reasons that aren't clear, it went up to this level. 1 in 16,000 is insane. Because if you just did the math, and we're not talking about deaths, we're just talking that they have myocarditis. But the deaths from that, which is going to be in here in another thing, how many of the people who died out of the millions that died strictly of this?
Right.
From excessive activity after getting the shot. Because a lot of people said they got really woozy and wonky, especially some of the earlier vaccines before they really kind of got a hand on it. Of course, Johnson & Johnson was removed entirely. Moderna had a lot of issues. The main Pfizer was the one that seemed to have the least amount of issues because, of course, they're the ones who got the big bucks from the government. Okay, so fortunately, most of these cases end well. I mean, sure. With full heart function retained or restored, recovery is typically swift. If you caught it, yes. If you didn't just have a heart attack and died before you even knew anything was wrong, obviously. It's not a heart attack in traditional sense. There's no blockage of blood vessels found in most common heart attacks. When symptoms are mild, the inflammation hasn't caused structural damage. We just observe these patients to make sure they recover. So if you catch it when it first comes in, like you feel like you're having the heart attack, they can catch it and they can help you get through it, hopefully without any main issues. That might be one reason why they're like, take a baby aspirin or whatever when you think you're having a heart attack, because it can help if it's myocarditis related. Maybe I'm saying that as a maybe, I don't know. However, Wu noted if the inflammation is severe, resulting in heart injury, it can be quite debilitating, leading to hospitalizations, ICU admissions for critically ill patients, death, but that's rare. I mean, not so rare. It didn't make the news fairly often in like 2022.
Yeah.
But this is the best part. Next part. But COVID-19 is worse. The case of COVID-19 is about 10 times as likely to induce myocarditis as an mRNA-based 19 vaccine, as the vaccine. So 10 times more likely than the vaccine. Okay, that's fine. And that's in addition to all the other troubles. Sure. And then it just gives the breakdown of his credentials. Cool. Don't care. IR smart guy is what it says right there. Medical scientists are quite aware the COVID itself can cause myocarditis. Yeah, we figured that out. Yeah, but you got to get past all the other issues first.
Right.
All the other things that, drowning in your own mucus and stuff like that, fever, burning out your blood vessels, bad too. That's over exaggeration. That's hantavirus. You're right. Nice hemorrhagic fevers. Suspects identified too. Oh yeah, so this is actually important as to what they figured out is doing it, or they think is doing it. He and his colleagues first analyzed data from blood draws of individuals vaccinated for COVID-19, some who had myocarditis. Comparing those who did and those who didn't, they noticed a level of proteins in the blood of vaccinees who wound up with the myocarditis. Two proteins named, I'm not going to, random string of letters and numbers. That looks like a Super Bowl number. CXCL10. Yeah, that's whichever football game that is, whatever Super Bowl that is. And then IFN gamma popped up. We think these two are the major drivers of the myocarditis. That word is getting harder to say.
Myocarditis.
It could be the 10% beer.
10% does it.
Yeah, even though I drank a lot of water today. They both belong to a class of proteins called cytokines. I have heard about cytokines before. I watched a lot of House. A lot of House, a lot of ER. They are signaling substances that immune cells secrete to carry on chemical conversations with each other. So they're like, hey, by the way, this. So it tells the immune system what to do. I'm gonna guess. Let's see here. Medical scientists are quite aware that COVID itself can cause that. Okay, I don't know why. All right. It just repeated it of everything. Okay. Hoping to listen on these communications. Come on. We don't need no editorial nonsense here. Just tell us. The scientists generated human immune cells called macrophages, fierce first responder cells of our immune system, in a dish, and incubated them with the vaccine. The macrophages responded by pumping out various cytokines, but mostly notable the one of those proteins, the CXC one. They also otherwise generally mimic the vaccine responsive of macrophages reported in humans, shown by comparison with people who they check their actual blood. So they basically replicated it. They're like, here's a vaccine in with literal macrophage that's supposed to do the thing, and it reacted very similarly to the blood they were already looking at. So they can kind of point at it. Scientists further supplied the dish with an additional type of immune cell, T cells, which, people with AIDS are very familiar with T cells, or lack thereof. Roving sentinels that can recognize the most recognize and mount immune attacks on specific pathogens, but they also incite general arousal of the immune system.
Well,
with X-ray vision, nonetheless. Or even when they merely steeped T cells in a solution in which vaccine-administered macrophages had bathed, they saw a marked uptick in T cells output of the other protein. So basically, they had the macrophage, they did it, and they added the T cells. It also secreted significantly more of this particular protein. T cells incubated with the vaccine in the absence of the macrophage of their, I said bath water. That's a weird way to put it. Macrophage bath water. Get yours now. Oh, macrophage.
the soak up in it.
Oh, macrophage. I'm stuck in this Petri dish. All right, sorry. Too much porn in my science. Produced only standard amounts of IFN gamma. So basically, the combination of both made the difference. Social macrophages are the chief source of the one, and the T cells are the chief source of the other. Okay. What do the two cytokines together do? And this is the thing here. Okay. So they found heightened levels of cardiac troponin, widely used in clinical marker for heart damage. The investigators also noticed infiltration of macrophages, another frontline take no prisoners immune cell type neutrophils. Okay, so that's another thing that they've noticed. Short-lived first responders that lived to die in glorious battle. Seriously, why are you writing it like this? Typically with bacterial or fungal pathogens. Okay, interesting. And are the main component of pus. Didn't know that. That's okay. So cool. In the mice's so they did a test on mice. Okay, where did they say it? Oh, right there, young male mice. I read past it. My bad. Are the main component of us mice cardiac tissue that this also occurs in post-vaccination myocarditis patients. So they're basically they see neutrophils along with the other stuff, but neutrophils are short-lived. The other ones are longer-lived immune responses. Okay. Macrophage and neutrophil infiltration into the heart, which comes at a cost. As you shoot first, ask questions later. Oh my God. That causing collateral damage to healthy tissue, including heart muscle, could be minimized by blocking those things from going on. Okay, cool. So what did you do here? Okay, so they're saying that the conclusion they came up with after looking into it was effectively because with COVID and the vaccine, it causes these types of proteins to react basically in an autoimmune way. Attacking, and this is what Brett Weinstein said in a simpler fashion, was effectively if the vaccine made it to your heart, it could bond to your heart cells, start producing or causing these cytokines from your heart tissue, causing an immune reaction that causes your own body to attack your healthy heart cells.
Right.
Is what he did, the long way of saying it, effectively. And that's what Brett Weinstein said, is that basically if it gets to your heart, it can cause your heart to be damaged by your own immune system. If they catch it early enough, they obviously can do that. Now, there's a little bit more going on here with significantly larger words. I'm going to skip over that because I'm tired. My brain is tired. Oh, no, they're going to tell us that soy somehow helps. Either way. So I'm going to skip past the very, very long conclusion here, but you guys want to read it, that's fine. And it was actually the study was funded by the NIH. So that's pretty cool. Question is, if the results were in 2025, when did they start the study? That's what I would like to know. Because if it started after the Trump presidency, then that means that they went back and went, oh, hey, let's go see.
See what actually.
But if they were doing this the whole time and lying to us that it doesn't cause myocarditis, because they did say it didn't. That is the key fact. They said the vaccine didn't cause any issues.
No, yeah, but I believe they knew.
Yeah, I do believe absolutely that they knew, or they were studying it at bare minimum.
Yeah.
At bare minimum, because there was too much damage to people, especially if you had people who had like long COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to look. They have to be looking into people with long COVID because one, that has a huge variety of outcomes. Some people just always kept getting sicker. Some people had very specific autoimmune reactions that basically shut their whole body down for years. Like what's her name? Physics Girl on YouTube, one of the better physics presenters. Long COVID for 4 fucking years. Only just now has almost kind of gotten back to normal.
There's still people that don't have taste.
Still, yeah. Chad still can't smell poop.
That's not a bad thing.
No, it's just really weird that he specifically can't smell poop. I know some people who literally lost their sense of smell and never got it back.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as being permanently sick.
Right.
And now, I honestly, this is a belief of mine, I think it was a combination of both. I think it was a combination of what the virus did combined with a reaction to the whichever possible vaccine. Because some people mixed them. And they're like, it's okay to mix them. No. It's like they're not necessarily the same thing.
Right.
Because the fourth one that came out actually wasn't even an mRNA virus or a vaccine. It was more of a traditional attenuated virus. I mean, we're so far into this. How are we not just doing standard attenuated viruses at this point? I mean, I've had COVID twice in all these years. First time was the worst. Second time was like an annoying cold or a bad allergy.
Right.
Jessica, on the other hand, she's had it at least twice, possibly 3 times. The second time was the worst. And that was after getting the first 2 vaccines. She had to get it for work.
Right.
And she got the Pfizer, I believe.
But you're less susceptible if you take the vaccine.
That's the thing we're going to talk about now.
Yeah.
Another study. Now, I don't have it here. I'll find the actual Nova papers on Nova Scientific. If you guys are familiar with old school Nova show on PBS when we were kids, told you all kinds of cool scientific shit. They published a paper that showed that they had 3 results from the study that showed, depending on where the the vaccine landed, would have a different outcome. If it stayed in your muscle tissue, in your arm, where it was supposed to, it should have the proper boosted immune response to protect you from the virus. That's why some people never got COVID again. If it got into your immune system, it had virtually no effect. It basically just immune system operated like normal. Basically dissolved, didn't do much.
Right.
If it got into your liver, mind you, this is entering your bloodstream. It was never meant to go into your bloodstream.
Right.
If it get into your liver and it settles and starts doing its thing, it actually showed a greater chance of decreasing your immunity to the virus.
Okay.
The exact opposite effect. How many people have you heard say they've got 7 boosters and they get sicker every time?
Yes.
What are the odds that it's just always hitting their liver? How many people started saying they had liver issues post-COVID and vaccine? I bet there's a big number.
Have to agree with you.
Like, there's all the coincidences that we've noticed for years are now starting to get explained. Not from the virus itself, but from the vaccines we were all told we were supposed to have. But in 2020 and 2021, if you brought this up, like the guy who invented the mRNA technology said we were using it wrong, it was never meant to be used this way, and there were issues with the targeting system of the mRNA vaccine, which is what is happening. It was meant to target specifically your muscular cells in your arm to settle in, do its job, build that immune reaction that it's supposed to have. But when it wandered off, instead of ignoring cells that it wasn't targeted for, it would latch on and have a different response.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't supposed to do that. And we're also seeing that if it gets to your heart, it has what this article said. It causes the myocarditis, which is what Brett Weinstein said in conjunction with the other doctor. He said, if it gets to your heart, that's what's causing the myocarditis, because it's causing an immune reaction to where your own body is attacking your heart cells, causing inflammation. If you don't catch it fast enough, it could kill you. Now, they're saying that if you got it, you're okay. Now, they're saying that there's a way to fight it in this article. If that's true, good, get on it. You know, as long as there's not the, you're just taking care of the snakes with, badgers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then you end up with a badger problem,
Right.
So with all the crazy non-conspiracies that we're having in this day and age, like, yeah, your phone is very active at this moment. Somebody's having a one-way conversation. Like, it's not a coincidence that at the same time you have people like Bill Gates and the WEF telling people they should stop eating meat to protect the environment. You also see people genetically engineering Lone Star ticks, which give you a specific allergy against red meat. That's not a fucking coincidence. There are people, I forgot exactly who it was, but literal science they're like literally offered up the thing, hey, what if we just went ahead and started spreading Lone Star ticks so people will stop eating meat?
I believe it. I mean,
They said it out loud. They actually said, "There's like, hey, this is a cool idea. We should do this." And then we find out that there's a weird Lone Star tick invasion in places where they weren't. Lyme disease going through the roof. That's odd. It's like, we had that covered a long time ago.
mm-hmm.
Hey, don't get anywhere where ticks are. Why are so many people getting bit by ticks more so than they used to?
Yeah.
Now, is that just the noticing, or is that something's going on?
Something's going on.
Because there are, and mind you, rumors, YouTube, farmers in the Southwest discovering boxes of ticks left on the edges of their property.
Is that rumors?
That was rumors.
I mean,
Literally found a box of ticks.
but is that a rumor or is that a fact?
That is a rumor because I can't confirm that anybody
Okay.
said that. If I could find a specific article about it, that's another story. Is it reported that it happened? Yes. Is there any fact behind it? I don't know. That's why I had to say it's a rumor at bare minimum. Internet rumor, because God, you can't trust fucking anything.